Blood on the high plains, a brother's redemption. The sun, a relentless furnace, beat down on the parched earth of redemption, baking the dust into a fine powder that swirled in the wake of every passing horse. The town, once a beacon of hope on the vast expanse of the Wild West, now cowered under the iron fist of Black Jack, a man whose heart was as cold as the steel of his gun. Into this crucible of fear rode John, a gunslinger haunted by the ghosts of his past. The news had reached him like a desert wind, carrying the desperate plea of his estranged brother, Daniel, who had fallen prey to Black Jack's cruelty. The weight of guilt and regret pressed heavily on John's heart, a constant reminder of the choices that had led him down a path of violence and isolation. As John dismounted in the desolate town square, the silence was palpable, broken only by the creak of the weathered saloon doors swinging open. He stepped inside, his boots echoing on the worn floorboards, and met the wary gazes of the townsfolk huddled in the dimly lit corners. The air hung heavy with the stench of stale whiskey and despair. "I'm looking for those who ain't afraid to stand up to Black Jack," John declared, his voice roughened by years of hardship and regret. A murmur rippled through the saloon, a mix of fear and defiance. A grizzled old rancher, his face etched with the lines of a life lived under a harsh sun, stepped forward, his eyes glinting with a spark of hope. "We're here, son," he rasped, "but hope is a scarce commodity in these parts." John nodded, a grim determination settling on his features. "I aim to change that," he said. Under the cloak of darkness, John and his newfound allies plotted their strategy, their whispers a symphony of desperation and resolve. They knew the odds were stacked against them, but the thought of Daniel suffering at the hands of Black Jack fueled their courage. As the moon cast an eerie glow over the desolate landscape, John led the charge, his heart pounding in his chest like a war drum. They infiltrated Black Jack's stronghold, a fortress of fear and corruption, their movements as silent as the desert night. But Black Jack was no fool. He anticipated John's arrival, his cruel lips twisting into a sinister grin. Well, he drawled, his voice dripping with malice, "if it ain't the prodigal son, come to play the hero." John's grip tightened on his Colt .45, his eyes locked with Black Jack's. "I've come for my brother," he growled. "Your brother?" Black Jack chuckled, a cold, hollow sound that echoed through the dimly lit room. "He's just a pawn in this game, just like you." John's blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" he demanded. Black Jack's grin widened, revealing a row of yellowed teeth. "You and I," he hissed, "we share the same blood. The same father." The revelation hit John like a bullet to the chest, shattering his already fragile world. He stumbled backward, his mind reeling. Black Jack seized the moment, his gun flashing in the darkness. A deafening roar filled the room, followed by the sickening thud of a body hitting the floor. John spun around, his heart in his throat. His brother, Daniel, lay sprawled on the blood-soaked floor, a crimson stain blooming on his chest. A primal scream tore from John's lips, a guttural cry of anguish and rage. He lunged at Black Jack, his fists flying, his vision blurred by tears of fury. But Black Jack was ready, his movements as swift and deadly as a striking serpent. He parried John's blows with ease, his cruel laughter echoing through the room. "You're weak," he sneered, "just like your father." The taunt pierced John's heart, igniting a fire within him. He broke free from Black Jack's grasp, his hand reaching for his gun. The two men faced each other, their shared past fueling the inferno in their eyes. The fate of redemption, and John's own redemption, hung in the balance. In the heart of the Wild West, under the unforgiving desert sky, the final showdown began. The echoes of gunfire shattered the silence of the night, a symphony of violence and desperation. In the swirling dust and smoke, two figures stood locked in a deadly dance, their guns blazing, their shared blood staining the parched earth. John, fueled by grief and a newfound resolve, fought with a ferocity he never knew he possessed. He moved with the grace of a predator, his every shot precise and deadly. Black Jack, cornered and enraged, fought back with the desperation of a wounded animal. But even his ruthless cunning could not overcome the righteous fury that burned in John's eyes. With a final, deafening roar, the guns fell silent. The dust settled, revealing a scene of devastation. Black Jack lay sprawled on the ground, his once proud figure reduced to a lifeless husk. John stood over him, his chest heaving, his hands trembling. He had won, but the victory was bittersweet. The cost of redemption had been high. As the first rays of dawn painted the sky with streaks of gold, John knelt beside his brother's body, his heart heavy with sorrow. He had failed to save Daniel, but he had avenged his death. The townspeople of Redemption emerged from their hiding places, their faces etched with a mixture of awe and gratitude. They had witnessed a legend born in blood and fire, a gunslinger who had risen from the ashes of his past to become their savior. John, however, felt no sense of triumph. He had confronted his demons, but the scars they left would forever mark his soul. He had found redemption, but at a price he would carry for the rest of his days. As he rode out of Redemption, the rising sun at his back, John knew that his journey was far from over. The ghosts of his past would always haunt him, but he would face them with courage and determination. He was a gunslinger, a brother, a man reborn in the crucible of violence. And he would never forget the blood that had been spilled on the high plains of Redemption.